It's the TheStick9erEmpire Podcast Show with your hosts, Iron Mike Arango, Lucas McLaughlin, and Lucas Ortiz.
Welcome to your TheStick9erEmpire Podcast. As usual, I'm here with your two gracious hosts, Lucas and Luke. Guys, we won this week. We are steamrolling. 2-0, baby. 2-0. We won by the score of 30-23. We're going to start with you, Luke. How do you feel about the game and what we saw this week? How are you feeling about our team, buddy?
I mean, looking good, man. I think, obviously, McCaffrey had an incredible game again. This guy is just a monster. And Debo, I mean, we can't say enough about him. There's just classic Debo runs. Offense looked great. Defense made some really nice adjustments later. After having, the Rams looked good in this game. They kind of gave us a run for our money, but we own them. So I think it was a good game, but Purdy could have played a little better. But there's always room for improvement, and he still looked pretty damn good at times. So I'm happy with the win.
Ortiz.
Yeah, ugly win. Not dominant, especially in the first half. I felt like we were playing very soft on defense, giving up little dink and dunk and 5-yard catches to Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell and guys like that. So it was kind of annoying. It was frustrating because they were just picking us apart, and it seemed like the pass rush really wasn't there. No sacks in the first half, and we kept them in the game. I think the defensive game plan going in was not to our liking, and it wasn't working out. Thankfully, the guys came out in the second half, started applying more pressure, started playing a lot tighter coverage in the defensive backfield, and we were able to pull that one out. Really a 10-point win, but for whatever reason, Sean McVay chose to kick a meaningless field goal as time expired and make it a little bit closer than it should have. Kind of screwed some people out of a lot of money, I heard. Kind of a backdoor beat. And it was in the end, it was a game that I'm glad we had, because we need to win some of those ugly games where we come over adversity and don't necessarily destroy the other team like we did in week 1 against Pittsburgh.
It's also super important to remember that, Stafford had a good game. He threw over 300 yards, and Nacua had freaking 15 catches for 147 yards.
Right. And nothing explosive. Like, we weren't getting beat deep. There weren't any big plays, according to the people that chart these things. It was a lot of, short yardage passes. He was just taking what the defense was giving him, and we were giving up a lot of passes in front of the defenders. Thankfully, we were making tackles, and to my memory, I think maybe there's only like 1 or 2 missed tackles and a penalty here and there. One on Dre Greenlaw that contributed to the Rams scoring on a drive. But for the most part, it was, all right, let them beat us with patience and short yardage passing, and that's what they were doing in the first half, and it was working.
In the first half, I feel like McVay was kind of calling very similar to like a Chip Kelly style of game. We were playing zone defense, and they were just kind of picking the defense apart little by little, so to speak. So that was a little frustrating to watch. If you look closely, you'll notice that the Niners were driving downfield much easier than they were, but they were slowly dissecting us little by little. So that was a little frustrating to watch, I would say.
I just think we played better. I think the defense probably got chastised in the halftime meet, and were probably, said like, all right, it's time to bring the pain. Like, let's dial up maybe a little bit more blitzing, but just play tighter coverage and don't let these guys get these little 5-yard outs and little, 6-yard slants. Let's make it a lot harder for them. And, the defensive line, they may not have a lot of sack numbers, but they were getting a lot of pressures. Nick Bosa graded, I think in the 90s, he was the number 1 defensive player. He was getting pressures and hurries. Didn't turn into sacks, but even guys like Javon Kinlaw, he was the second best rated defensive line guy. He was getting in the backfield constantly, bull rushing, getting in Stafford's face, forcing him to throw those balls on time, which he was able to do almost all throughout the game. I liked what I saw of the defensive line. I think the Rams had a good strategy for playing a team like us with good pass, good rushers on the defensive line, and they were just getting the ball out on time. That was the only difference between us blowing them out and keeping the game tight like it was.
I think during the second half, we did a little bit more man-to-man coverage, and I think they did want to go a little deeper on this, and I think they did try a few times. They just didn't connect, so to speak. You mentioned Greenlaw. One thing about Greenlaw is with Greenlaw, you always get the good and the bad, so to speak.
Right.
Guy's a violent, vicious player, all hyped up, and I'm pretty sure that they're afraid to almost tune him down because he's a big part of that defense nowadays. The way he comes at you, he sets the tone a lot on that defense. Luke, I'm sure you would agree.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the good outweighs the bad with Greenlaw because without him, the talent drops off. The guys on the bench. So you got to have Warner and Greenlaw out there. I think there's always going to be some issues, but I think, like you just said, they definitely started showing the blitz, but then dropping back into covers and ended up with the man-to-man, which, we pretty much dominated with but then they had to make some changes too, because I think Avery Thomas was getting picked on, right? And then they ended up with Oliver.
He was
the pick, the only interception, which wasn't kind of.
Oliver actually played really pretty decently well in the second half. He had maybe 3 huge plays in that second half besides that pick. He had a couple nice tackles as well. How did you feel about him, Ortiz?
About Avery Thomas?
Oliver's play in the second half.
Oh, Oliver. Yeah. He was, you can say he was the player of the game on the defense. He had that huge pick, 1-man pick. It was a deflection off a decent throw ball by Stafford. Really can't credit him with that interception. And that was a big play. They were driving the ball and potentially about to go up by 3 or 7 points. So at that point in the game, that interception was huge. And he made some nice plays in the backfield, had some good tackles. Felt like he really is starting to come to his own on our team. I know he was brought in as a free agent, and they were thinking about, starting him from the get-go as the nickel back. And just for whatever reason, he didn't win the job in the preseason. They went with Avery Thomas, who pushed Lenore into that position. So Avery Thomas was the cornerback on the outside, and Lenore went from the outside cornerback starting position to the starting nickel back, which meant Oliver was on the bench. I think Avery Thomas got hurt in this game, and so Oliver came in and he played a hell of a game, and he was, probably our defensive MVP if you had to ask anybody.
Did he get hurt? I thought he just got benched.
Avery Thomas, no, he hurt his knee. Sure, yeah, he's most likely he's not gonna be available this next game. Just to piggyback real quick on Dre Greenlaw, love his intensity, love his enthusiasm for the game, and the fact that he loves to hit and make people feel him when he makes a tackle. But man, can we get that guy to just stop us with these late hit penalties? Hitting defenseless players. It's almost like you want the good, you want all that enthusiasm, but at the same time, he can't hurt our team. And this is not the first time. It's
it was a silly nudge too. The way he just nudged him on the ground. It was right. Not hurting anyone. It was silly. It was just in vain.
You're right. We've definitely seen him do that over the years. He does take some cheap shots here and there.
Right. I heard a funny analogy. Somebody compared him to Draymond Green on another podcast, and I think on the radio too. They just said, you need that type of character on your team, and you have to take the good with the bad. You're going to get some plays like that. You're going to get a technical foul by Draymond Green, but he's also going to give you defensive intensity and be the voice in the room that gets everybody amped up and going and pumped to hit people. So got to have it both ways.
Just to keep it on the positive note here, another guy who really who's starting to step a little bit this year, Javon Kinlaw, finally. I mean, this is 2 games in a row now. He's got 6 pressures throughout the year. It might not seem like much, but he probably had 6 pressures all of last year combined. So Javon Kinlaw is finding, and I think that keeping him not as a starter, having him come off the bench is saving that pressure that normally he'd be putting on his knees. So, man, more power to him. Hopefully he stays doing the way he's doing right now.
Right. And no mention of any missed practices or having to ice his knee or have some kind of procedure to drain his knees from practicing. So I think he's finally healthy. He's coming into his own. He doesn't have a lot of pass rush moves, but he's a really good bull rusher. And every now and then he'll just like swim somebody or sidestep a play and get into the backfield to make a nice hit. Next to Nick Bosa, I think he was graded the highest defensive lineman by PFF. He was somewhere in the 80s, which is really good, especially for him. So happy that guy is finally healthy, playing well. And he's not even the starter on the team. He's the guy that comes in to spell in Hargrave or Armstead.
I remember this last year, we just kind of wrote him off like, yeah, he's just a bust. Like, now he's coming back.
Anything he could give us was just, extra whipped cream on the Sunday. Exactly.
Guys, another guy who just keeps on playing, and it's not a surprise, obviously, playing great every week is CMC. He's got 3 insane runs over the last 2 weeks. And more importantly, I know it's just 2 games in, but at this point in the season, I think of the guys like the MVP so far in the first 2 games. The guys rushing. I don't think that there's any player right now that's more important to their team than Chris McCaffrey is to the Niners. I mean, we completely go through. What do you guys think? Starting with you, Luke.
So I think that the problem is that, and this is, again, we talked about it numerous times. Shanahan he's got to take some of these guys out of the game. I mean, yeah, he's a great running back, and we don't want him to get hurt, but this is a short week. We're playing on Thursday. At the end of that fourth quarter, you want to see Mitchell and Davis Price out there. They're good running backs. We have good running backs on this team. We don't need to risk some of these guys got to come out of the game, and I don't like that he's in there late because obviously he's a huge piece of this puzzle for a championship.
Yeah, and I think they had every intention of bringing in Elijah Mitchell for some runs, especially to spell Christian in the fourth quarter. But I think they saw that 60-yard run and finish. I think it was it Ahkello Witherspoon, former 49ers quarterback?
Yeah.
Grabbed him by the neck and chokeslammed him at the end of that run. The Undertaker. It was like a wrestling finishing move. And they're just like, we can't take this guy out. We got to give him every possible snap there is at the running back position. That was amazing. That was one of my favorite runs of his. The best was being last year against the Eagles, the touchdown that he scored. That was probably his one of his finest runs ever. But this one's up there. This one's definitely a top 3 pick for mine. Love that run. I want to keep him fresh. I want to keep him healthy. So let's try to get Elijah Mitchell into the game this Thursday against the Giants.
And maybe Elijah Mitchell could shove down a former 49er as well. I don't know what it is about these guys that Kyle Shanahan goes for. To me, Avery Thomas is a Witherspoon clone. Same rounds, same player. I don't know what it is that he's attracted to that type of guy that just flames out right away. He's a good athlete.
Let's just hope he doesn't flame out the same way. I think he's a little bit better. I don't think he gives up the big plays or the PIs like Witherspoon used to give up. So he's just, he was a little soft in coverage. He wasn't giving up big plays. He was giving up small pass plays, and he was making the tackle. So I'll at least give him that. It's unfortunate that he hurt his knee and that he's not going to be playing probably for the next couple of weeks. But we did sign a new cornerback. The Niners just brought in, I think it was a cornerback with the Cowboys 2 seasons ago, but was hurt last season and didn't have a team up until this Tuesday, the day after the game. So we're going to replace him. We're going to probably be without Womack for another 4 or 5 weeks, I hear. So we have some issues at the defensive back position. Not a lot of depth, especially the guys that we came out of the season with.
Which ends up affecting special teams, right, Lucas?
These guys may not be starting cornerbacks, but they're gunners. They're guys that you expect to be making plays in special teams, punts and kickoff returns and things like that. So, we gotta have guys. One guy goes down, the other guy has to step up, and hopefully we have backups on the practice squad and so forth that can fill the role.
Guys, now that we showed, maybe just a little bit vulnerable on the secondary. I don't like to make it too much of a concern yet, but we might have some vulnerability there, so to speak. I mean, you got to think too. Our D line's so great. Our linebackers are incredible. That's the best linebacking core in the league, probably the best defensive line in the league, possibly. So there's got to be a weakness somewhere.
The stat sheet right now. Here's why we don't complain too much about Greenlaw's antics. He had 12 tackles, 7 solo. And then we got Fred Warner, 11 tackles, 9 solo, and a sack.
They don't need help. They can do it by themselves. Those guys are both stars. Greenlaw should go be all pro this year, or at least pro bowler, because the guy's a really, really underrated player. So speaking about those weaknesses, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the power rankings and see what you guys think. This is the second week in a row. The San Francisco 49ers are number one, which I like to see. The Dallas Cowboys are number 2, but some people could put an argument for them due to the fact that they've scored, I believe it's 10 points more than us, and they've given up less points than us as well. And then the Eagles slide in at 3. The Eagles, by the way, do not look like the same team they were last year. They are not beating up on anyone.
So what's crazy is that we're number 1 in the power rankings, and I don't think we've even had our A game yet. I think we've had a C game and we've had a B game, but nowhere near what our potential is. We haven't seen peak Bosa. We haven't seen, peak Avery Thomas or Diamador Lenore, whoever's going to be the outside cornerback.
I don't think you're going to see Avery Thomas.
Lenore had a good game too.
Yeah, and the offensive line.
Lenore's a good player.
Yeah, the offensive line improved, but I don't think we've seen the best of them. I'll take 150 yards rushing, but I think they can do better. I think we have some 200-yard games on the ground coming soon, and they did a good job of keeping Purdy off the ground and no sacks. That's great, but I don't think we've seen our A game yet. We could easily be putting up 40, 50 points on some of these weaker teams in the NFC, especially teams like the Cardinals, the Giants, very susceptible to being scored on. So we're number 1 right now, and we haven't even gotten anywhere near close our best game, which is
on
cool.
paper, you would think the Pittsburgh game would be like their A game, but they're better.
No, that was a B. That was a B game. We should have scored over 40 points in that game.
And just by the way, you guys, I finally saw what you guys were talking about on this last game with Bosa not being in game shape yet. He was huffing and puffing out there. He looked tired.
Well, he's another guy that I don't mind.
Soon too.
I don't mind him getting some plays off. Like we have some good depth at the DN. Cleveland Farrell, Drake Jackson, who also had a nice game. He had a lot of hurries and I think he batted down a Matthew Stafford rollout pass and chased down a nice screen that could have gone for 7 points if he had not hustled and got to the guy and tackled him from behind. So Drake Jackson finally showing his potential in his second year as a defensive end.
He's looked good all year so far. In both games, he has come up big. Guys, probably now's a good time to get with our favorite offensive lineman here, Mr. Luke Ortiz. You're probably thinking some of the same things I am. How did you feel about our O-line this week, particularly the weaker side?
O-line, what I liked is no sacks, right? That's the big thing. Last week, TJ Watt got in the backfield. I think he had 2 or 3 sacks, forced fumble, got Brock in a very scary position where he could have potentially injured his elbow again. So no sacks, not a lot of hurries. Brock had time to even drop back and overthrow some players this week. So those long passes take time, and he was given time by the offensive line. McKivitz, I thought he improved remarkably in his pass protection and didn't show the flaws like he did last week. Albeit it was against a much better pass rusher in TJ Watt. Some people are calling him the defensive player of the year along with Micah Parsons. So he did go up against Aaron Donald a couple times. They lined him up against McKivitz thinking he was the weak link and then he could probably take advantage of him, but he held his own. I didn't hear Aaron Donald's name maybe more than once or twice, and it was usually because the announcers were saying how quiet of a game he was having. So, a lot of times he was going up against his old nemesis.
Runs kill.
Yeah.
Baby. Loved him.
Yeah, well, his father isn't on our team anymore, and McKivitz and Spencer Burford, Jake Brendel, and Aaron Banks. Every time he went against Aaron Banks shut him down. So those guys are doing their job. I don't think he went up against Trent Williams at all. Smart enough to stay away from that side. So the offensive line did their job. I got to give him a respectful A, maybe A-. I do think there is room for improvement in the run game. There were times where they were getting pressure in the backfield on some run plays and stopping Christian McCaffrey for some negative runs. But overall, good. I love what I see. I think they're getting better every year or every week. And I think by the end of the year, it's going to be probably one of the most dominant offensive lines in the NFL. What do you guys think?
I thought that they did a great job of shutting down Aaron Donald. They did give him a lot of help. They must have given him a lot of help. I didn't review the offense. They had to, because he ended up having PFF rated him higher than last week, but he still came out bottom 5 in the league. So that I don't know what Kyle did to scheme that up. I'd have to watch that again, but he's doing something to keep Aaron Donald out of that backfield.
Well, there's nobody else on their team that you're scared of. So we're not afraid to double team him and leave somebody else one-on-one, because there's nobody else that's, wow, like, who else on their team can you think of that's,
I saw Juice out there a few times. I don't know if he was part of that blocking scheme.
Yeah.
They used him as a clone.
Team.
Yeah, they used him as a clone a few times and as a dummy, which was great because everyone follows him whenever he comes out. But overall, that side of the O-line did play a little better. And like you said last week, you're right in this. They will get better. They're 2 young players. They're going to get better throughout the year. Hopefully by midseason, they'll be ready to go.
Right. We can't say enough about our defensive coordinator, right? Because those are the guys you don't want to lose. And we keep losing them to head coaching positions. But
every year,
I love watching the 49ers make adjustments like that. He definitely played it well. It's a good scheme.
We made better adjustments in this game than they did, and that's really why we started, passing them in the second half, so to speak. Guys, game balls for offense or defense, starting with you, Luke. Give me one for offense. Give me one for defense, buddy.
All right, I'm going to go with Debo.
Played great.
Definitely my guy on offense, and then
owns the Rams.
And then
the Rams.
It's too obvious because I'm first. So Warner's my guy on defense.
Okay.
Incredible game.
Luke?
Let's see. Let's start with offense. Got to go CMC, monster run, 6-yarder, choke slam. What can't you say about this guy? Didn't have a lot of catches in this game, but we didn't need him. We're giving the rock to Debo. We spread a little love to Kittle on some plays. And I just thought CMC is just consistently the best guy, the best offensive player that we have. And that's saying a lot because we have some good players. We have Debo and Ayuk last week had a really nice game, but every week Christian scores a touchdown. I think he has some kind of crazy streak, right? Was it like going on how many games? 12 games, scoring a touchdown in some way.
It's like you're playing mad and like people don't want you to use the Walter Payton because no one can tackle him.
Yeah. So defense, I'm going to go a little outside the box. I'm going to say I'm going to go Oliver.
It's a good one. No,
I was
someone new.
I was going to go with another guy, but I was like, you know what? Oliver had the big play. That was a crucial part of the game where we talked about it earlier. The Rams could have gone up and it could have been a much different outcome. That turned things around. That really got
that's a great pick
on the defense.
That's a great pick, man.
He had a killer tackle.
Yeah.
He had a killer tackle, killer pick. I think he had a tip pass, or he almost, he had a really good game, really. Guys, on defense, I love that Oliver pick, actually. On defense, actually, wait, let me start on offense. You guys made it easy for me on offense. I can give it to Brandon Ayuk now. I don't think I have to speak much about him for
a little bit because what's going on with him? We got a short rest. Is he hurt?
I mean, no, he's fine. He just, he's just kind of like day to day. He's just a little sore. He got banged up in his shoulder area. They said it seemed like it was his chest, but
it could have been a little stinger. It could have been, a little sprain in the shoulder. But he's not a pitcher, so he'll be okay.
He's fine. He's pushing to play. He's pushing to play. So, nice. On offense, I'm going to give it to him. On defense, I would say that's a little tougher now. I don't know if I want to give it to. You know what? It's tough because there's like 3 guys on that defensive line that were causing pressure. They just didn't necessarily get sacks. But Bosa, Hargrave, and Kinlaw all had pressures. I think Bosa had 8 pressures, by the way. He was like number 1 in the week, I believe, if I'm correct, according to PFF. So I'll have to give it to Bosa, even though he's out of breath out there. He's giving it 100%, and he's fighting for everything he could give. He's almost there.
He's almost there.
Yeah, he was there.
Away from making some plays.
He almost got a sack. He's gonna get there very soon. Trust me, guys. He will get there.
Everything
he's bull rushing a lot more than he used to.
Everything we do starts with what Bosa's doing, right? So they have to worry about him. It changes everything, right? I mean, we're going to see him have a real Bosa game coming up here. So
and if you notice, he's not really giving us a lot of his pass moves with a lot of creativity. It's a lot of bull rushing. And I think maybe that's by design, just to keep the quarterback inside the pocket and not allow him to escape. I don't know. It could just be he's tired. We'll just have to see as the season goes along. If he gets his wind back, is he going to start, spin moving and swimming and
he will
shedding.
I think as the weeks go by,
pass rush moves. Well,
I think in the next week or two, you'll start seeing a little bit more and a little bit more. Guys, for the disappointment awards, who am I going to give this to? My new weekly segment. Who am I disappointed in?
Arango Files.
Yeah, you like to call the Arango Files. I got the disappointment awards. Guys, there's 2 guys I got a bone to pick.
All right.
One of them is Kyle Shanahan, but you brought that up earlier. How can you possibly leave Debo with 2 minutes left in the game? Debo's still playing. CMC still playing. Dude, are you seriously trying to get these guys hurt?
Like even those guys are probably out there going, why are we out here?
Ayuk got hurt twice during the game. He got hit, and Ayuk's still out there. Like, what are you doing, Kyle? Mason's a good running back. Mitchell's a good running back.
Mike, I'll tell you what he's doing. He's winning
guaranteeing
games.
the win.
That's all I fucking care about.
That.
He's fucking winning games.
One of them gets hurt.
Is he traumatized? Is he traumatized from the Super Bowl? I think he's traumatized from the Super Bowl.
He's getting us to 2-0. And we didn't talk about the big risk at the end of the first half. No time remaining on the half-yard line. Instead of taking
I'm not done with my disappointment awards.
That's
I got another one.
I'm just saying that was a big risk, and I like the fact that he went for it.
Me too.
With the
I do. I like the aggression.
Right.
Another guy I got to pick on. I'm sorry. I got to pick on him because if we're going to praise him, then we got to be fair and criticize him when things go bad too. Brock Purdy missed 3 wide open passes. 2 of them were for touchdowns. I'll let one slide, the one in between the 2 defenders. I would be nervous throwing that pass. But you know what? I've seen Trey Lance throw that pass, believe it or not. I could even show you.
Pictures
but anyway,
in their mind. On the third
guys,
time.
we should have won this game by another 7 points minimum. I think we could have won by about 10 more points. Oh. I think Brock Purdy left 14 points on the table, overthrowing his receivers a minimum of 2 times. But he missed about 4 passes total. 3 were bad. Any thoughts on that? I feel like
so bad. Then that's not that bad.
He also didn't turn the ball over, so
yeah.
That's my quarterback, man. That's my quarterback.
Nice.
But here's the thing, though.
Put some respect on his name.
He can do that now. I don't think you could do that in the playoffs, though.
The disrespect you have for Brock Purdy is just...
I do not. I love the guy. I have a shirt. I love the guy.
You know what?
I do not.
Not everybody's going to have a perfect game.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes misses guys. Jimmy Garoppolo missed a lot of guys.
Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't need to be spoken in any conversation with
Trey Lance, if he was the starting quarterback, would probably miss a lot of guys.
He's lost because he never gets a chance, but that's another story.
I'm not disappointed. I'm not worried about Brock. He'll be okay. He came out firing. He was like 5 for 5, 6 for 6.
Yeah.
There was a little miscommunication.
I felt like he was having a great game to start.
He feels that rush.
He's putting a clinic in the first half. He's putting on a clinic in the first half. Both of them were.
Yeah. And his receiver said it wasn't all on him. They said there was some communication issues, and
those receivers are wide open every play.
Yeah. Well, they're not running full speed in practice, so maybe when he gets into the game, he's not.
I don't know. It brought back a bad memory in my mind of the Super Bowl. I thought of that Super Bowl missed by Garoppolo right away.
But that was much worse because that was a whole season of practice and games. This is game 2. So
all right, we'll let him slide. Looking up to the Giants in a few days, guys. We got the Giants coming up. My heart bleeds for Shaquan. I can never say his first name. Barkley.
Saquon.
Was it Saquon? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley. And by the way, nice. I love Nick Chubb. He's actually one of my favorite non-49er players. I don't know if you guys saw what happened to him. This dude is averaging in his career right about what Jim Brown was averaging in his career. Since Nick Chubb has entered the league, he has more longer run yards than any other player aside from probably Chris CMC. So I'm real sad to see what happened to him. He may never be the same again, and probably unlikely he will, honestly.
Yeah, agreed. Sad, but let's keep it on topic. Giants, Saquon's out. I think
Saquon's out.
Be a route. The Giants.
I think so too.
The
Giants are a funny team this year.
The Giants for 6 quarters, the first 6 quarters of the season, were like minus 60.
The worst football team for the first 6 quarters.
Well, I know how they came back. They played the Cardinals, and the Cardinals realized that they were the Cardinals, and they turned it on in the second half, pulled out a victory. So they're coming in 1-on-1, 1-1, and I think short week, they're not going to have a lot left. They're
traveling. We're not. We're coming home. Gordon. Yeah. I mean, we've been at home for 2 weeks now. So
right up and down the lineup, we have a better team. They're rolling in with backups in the running back position. I think Matt Breida is going to be starting for them. X49.
Most likely not. He wasn't listed as the backup, but they're thinking everyone's thinking that he's going to start.
Yeah, this one's not going to be close. I'm thinking we finally get our 40 points out of Brock. 45 to 17. They're going to probably get cheap ones at the end of the game.
I mean, Jones could run a little.
Not close. And I think CMC doesn't. I don't think Christian McCaffrey plays the fourth quarter. That's
so 40 to what? 40 to what?
45 to 17.
45 to 17.
Yeah, it's going to be like 45 to 3 or 45 to 10, and then they're gonna score some meaningless points in the game.
Luke, how are you feeling about final predictions on this game?
One big play by Kittle. You're going to see one of the typical like classic Kittle
That'd be nice.
50-yarder.
Nice.
And it's going to be like 38 to 10 Niners, and you're going to see a real Nick Bosa game where he gets 2 sacks and a lot of pressures. And he's going to do some of those swim moves and show why he's got the big paycheck.
I think.
How do you see it?
I think I'm gonna. I love Ortiz's answer, so I'm not gonna drift too far away from him. I'm gonna say we hit over 40. I was gonna say 38 to 40. I'm gonna go with the big 4-0 because I think the Niners are better in every single aspect of football. The only guy there that he could probably give us a little bit of a hard time is maybe if Daniel Jones starts to run a lot. Yeah. Running quarterbacks always giving us a hard time, but he's a different type of runner too. He's more like a little truck runner. But I'm gonna say 41, 42
close
to 10. I'll give him something like that. I'll give him 10 points, 7 points, maybe garbage points because you got to get something in the end. If you're taking CMC out in the fourth quarter, you're taking the defense out. Let's just by 5 minutes left in the game, we'll remove all the starters and we'll be up by 40 points because that's the way Kyle rolls.
Yeah. Niners cover.
We'll be up by enough.
Yeah, we have the
Niners will cover.
Yeah, they have the biggest spread this week. I think it's 10 points, and we will comfortably cover.
Nice.
Yeah, the Giants won't be doing what McVay. I'm not supposed to say dirty words on air anymore, but they won't be doing what McVay did to us this weekend. Just to show some sort of face. McVay, you got no guts, by the way. Should have gone for the TD.
All right, boys. Quick turnaround. We'll probably get a pod out by maybe Friday, Saturday after this Thursday night game. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, guys. Go Niners.
Rock and roll. Everyone have a wonderful night. And guys, if you like the show, like and subscribe. TheStick9erEmpire Podcast. You guys have a great night.
All right, guys.
Be safe, guys.
Take care.
See you guys.